Hallelujah, blessings, fam. This is Noemi again. So I want to continue regarding the Justice Advocacy promo. And one of the things that I say in there is that justice advocacy is about balancing the scales of power by empowering the people to have access to justice. So what most of us have been struggling with, including myself, is essentially that in America today, unless you have money for a lawyer, you just can't afford justice. And yes, there are programs in place to essentially, either get a court appointed attorney for certain procedures, mostly criminal, but definitely mostly it's never for civil, as if the poor don't have civil claims to make. And the other thing is, yes, there are several like nonprofit kind of attorneys services, but their aim is more for like housing equality. They don't always take high profile or complicated cases. It's a lot of attorneys that just kind of, they want to help out their community in the greatest need, but it's still not holistic, and they also get inundated with demand because there's plenty of people in America struggling financially, and to hire an attorney is extremely expensive. And so then what are we left? And a lot of those nonprofits, they go by income standards. And if you're like me, I'm too poor to afford an attorney and too rich to qualify for free legal aid. And so then what? There's no justice. According to our Constitution, that is not acceptable. It is unacceptable that there are so many injustices that are just not being heard. And so what justice advocacy is attempting to do is essentially resurrect an army of pro se litigants and people equipped enough with legal language and legal research to engage the court and balance the scales. Because what essentially has happened is that people with money, corporations, people who can afford lobbyists, have put lots of money to control the direction of our legal system. And the poor just get beat up, or completely just not heard. And so that's unacceptable. We're here to address that and empower you, the American people, to address that nationally. Now, another point that I mentioned in the promo is that judicial power includes the power to enforce or void statutes and laws when questioned. This was an epic find for me because when I started engaging in advocacy, quote, advocacy here in Connecticut, I was led to many various organizations. They're like, yeah, advocacy and everything. And we're going to go to the legislative office building and do this and do that and campaign and this. But in summary, regarding a particular injustice that happened in Connecticut, which was incredibly egregious, is the famous Whiting forensic abuse case. Bunch of state employees. I mean, still justice is not served in that case, and I'm just throwing them out there because we're still planning on dealing with how that case was handled. But essentially, I saw people I went to hearing after hearing. One, it's almost a full-time job to pursue your legislators, to pursue advocacy through no wonder people actually have to pay and hire a lobbyist because it is literally a full-time job to follow bills that you care about, to know what changes they made and when, to see. And it's just, it's incredible how manipulated the system can get and becomes when they touch it. Like, and if you don't have eyes and ears in the legislative office building, you're gonna miss out critical, important details. This is why lobbyists have a job. And so then what? So those who can afford or qualify for a lobbyist know what's going on? No. So this is unacceptable. The other thing that I found out is that, you know, we were told regarding this case that we had to pioneer. Now in Connecticut, I want to say there's like 140 something House of Representatives. Okay, so we were essentially told that we need to find at least one individual within the House of Representatives who would pioneer our cause to advocate on behalf of this disabled individual who was abused by state employees under state care. Okay. And I had to step back and think about what I was being told. Essentially, you have a body that has to vote on certain bills, right? The body consists of 140 plus votes, plus or minus votes, and we're targeting one individual to convince a majority necessary within the 145. Like, listen, the political arena is extremely self-centered and self-serving. No one representative really cares if you're not a constituent, and a constituent essentially is someone who lives within the district of that politician. If you're not a constituent of that particular politician, they don't have to care. And so I had to step back and kind of analyze, like, what? This is our strategy, and this has been the strategy in Connecticut, and God bless every advocate who has pioneered into, you know, trying to drill common sense into our legislative branch, like, because it takes chutzpah. It's like, it takes balls, man, and a hard head to really stay and persevere in the judicial. But so then what I also saw people presenting facts, truths, statistics, presenting amazing arguments, when in the long run, the only thing maybe a politician cares about is, are they a part of my constituents? Does their group have, you know, one or two or three of people that I serve? And if they don't care. And so none of these odds make sense to me. But when I found out that judicial power has the power to enforce or void statutes, I saw another avenue that we, the people, have to embrace and take charge. We need to put our feet within the court system for advocacy. Essentially, the power to void a statute says, like, for example, if, you know, bail, I'm going blank on terminology, but like, for example, cash bail. Okay, we all know cash bail is an unjust, unequitable system. Why? Because the rich can afford it and the poor cannot, right? And so the cash bail is regulated. There's laws and statutes that regulate that process. Instead of presenting this argument in front of a legislative body who wants to know how many of your people are they responsible to care about, you know, that just doesn't work. But in a court of law, you have the capacity to present an argument with common sense and sensibly, sorry, and a judge has to render a judgment. So within the court system, it's all about the legal question at hand. So you need to know, what question do you want the judge to answer? And for certain things that have been oppressing the poor, like, the aim is to mobilize people into the court system. If we can mobilize a group and present the matter logically, rationally, the way so many have been banging their head within the legislative body, and not really getting results, a judge has to answer. This is why judges are paid what they're paid. This is why it has the prestige. They are paid to have discernment. They are paid. They are in a position to discern what is right and what is just, and make determinations on that rationale, and present their determination in language which sets a precedent. And the precedent essentially is a standard that is binding upon other judges and the rest of the judicial system. So it's so important that we engage this ability. So essentially, the other part of justice advocacy is getting pro se people to start challenging and voiding statutes that are oppressing the people. What happens when that happens? So if a statute is declared unconstitutional, or a statute is declared that it has a disparate impact and so it is unconstitutional, then it gets deleted. That's it. Now, the legislative body has to organize and fill the void, but it cannot violate the standard that the judiciary, the judge, set. So part of the problem, or that has been happening, is that we have not been engaging. So there isn't really money in addressing statutes, or declaratory relief. Essentially, your relief is the answer, right? And that's also part of the problem why this type of action has not been pursued, or is not like a mainstream process. It's because unless you're suing and you want some type of money or whatever, it's not feasible for a lawyer to take the case unless they have nothing better to do, like mostly everybody here in America has bills to pay, so they want legal opportunities or jobs that are going to pay them. And essentially, and if it's laws that are oppressing the poor, and we don't have the money to pay for a lawyer, then it's just stuff that is within our legal process. It's within our means, but it doesn't have the prestige, because it's work for passionate individuals. It's work for passionate individuals who want to see justice in America. And if you're a passionate individual who wants to see justice in America, I encourage you to connect with me. Connect with BG2G .us. All the links are going to be below in this video. Connect with me. There's so much more that I need to share. All right, blessings, peace.